Welcome back to Forza Horizon 5. This is the FH5 Update 43, the Midnight Muscle Update. We've only got 2 new cars for this month's update, but they're pretty cool ones. We've got a bunch of other things going on behind the scenes for Forza Horizon 5 this month that we'll talk about as well. But the big story this month is what's not going on with Forza Horizon 5 and the implications it has for the future and what it means for Forza Horizon 6. We're going to talk about that as well today, so buckle in. Real quick though, in case you missed it, there's only a couple of days left to grab the free signed sticker deal on the AR12 store, where every single order comes with a free signed sticker. It doesn't matter what you order, every single order comes with a free signed sticker. So if you want to pick up a bad driver on board sticker, you can do that, get a free signed sticker. Or you could order a skill issue hoodie, which are finally back in stock after they sold out last time. You don't need a special code or anything like that. It's just our way of saying thank you for an awesome year over on the store and to make me endure some more pain by making me write my name thousands of times. Anyways, let's jump into the FH5 festival playlist and let's start it off with this thing. This is the 2022 Dodge Challenger SRT Superstock. You can unlock this car by getting 20 points during week number 1. That's next Thursday. If you're a little bit like me though and a little bit confused with all of the different Dodge Challengers out there, let me explain what the Superstock one is. Essentially, it's a Dodge Demon, but a little bit less special and a little bit slower. I believe this is the 3rd most powerful Dodge Challenger ever made. They made the Dodge Demon 170 with 1,000 horsepower. They made the Dodge Demon with 840 horsepower. And then the Superstock is number 3 with 807 horsepower. It's an awesome car with a crazy engine. It's got the same 6.2 liter V8 supercharged engine from a lot of the other like Challengers and stuff like that, except this one has a higher rev limiter than the other ones, 6,400 RPM. It's got an 8-speed automatic gearbox that's specifically tuned for drag racing to complete the quarter mile as quickly as possible. It's also got special Bilstein suspension that's also tuned for drag racing, so you can put the power down easily. Correction, you have 800 horsepower. Maybe easier is the right word. It also looks slightly different than the regular Demon and like the Hellcat and stuff like that. The Demon's got 1 big hood vent. This one's got 2 smaller ones. This one, though, actually is the same wide body kit from the factory. Really cool looking car. They're also pretty rare. In 2022, apparently, they only made 500 or so of these things. And throughout its entire life, they only made 1,000 Superstocks or so. So they're pretty rare. And then I guess we should address the elephant in the room, the drag times, because that's what this car was built for. I'm not gonna lie, the drag times posted online kind of vary drastically depending on what sort of news website you read. Some people have it in like the high 10s, some people have it in the low 11s, so around there, monstrously quick car, especially for something that's rear-wheel drive and street legal. If we move on to week number 2, though, we can talk about the second car in Update 43, and that's actually this thing, the 1995 Ford Mustang SVT Cobra R. Again, same deal, week 2, 20 points. You might actually remember this car from some previous Forza Horizon games. Most recently, it was in Forza Horizon 3, and it's actually been in a bunch of recent Forza Motorsport games. The story behind this car, though, is wild. So, specs on paper, it's got a 5.8 liter V8 engine that somehow only puts out 300 horsepower, 365 foot-pounds of torque with a 5-speed manual, but the real kicker is that it, again, only weighs 3,200 pounds, which for a Mustang is a Mustang on a diet. The way Ford got the weight down, though, is it has no radio, it has no power windows, it has no air conditioning, and it has no back seat. And I'm not even joking, Ford took this whole racing thing so seriously. To buy one of these things back in 1995, you had to have a racing license and prove to Ford that you were going to drive it in an upcoming sanctioned racing series like an IMSA or an NHRA and things like that. What's probably the coolest thing of all, though, is yes, although you had to show them your racing license and prove to them that you were actually going to race it, you didn't need to, because this car was actually street legal. Obviously, it wasn't built for the street, but the fact that you could get it on the road and actually drive it, even though it is a race car, is pretty cool. They're also unbelievably rare. Only 250 of these things were ever made. And what's really cool is the developers have already confirmed there is a ton of customization available for this car. There are 4 front bumpers, 5 rear wings, 3 rear bumpers, 2 side skirts, and 5 different hood options. It is a super cool car, and I'm excited to see that it is finally coming back to a modern Horizon game. Unfortunately, though, that's it for new cars for FH5 Update 43, but that is not the end of the stuff we need to talk about today. Number 1, there is a new feature, sorta kinda. You can finally go into the game and pick your startup screen for Forza Horizon 5. You can pick from any of the throwback Forza Horizon start screens, the Italian automotive screen, or the retro wave screen. The developers are also implementing a shuffle option, so every time you boot up the game, you can get a different one if you don't want to pick one exclusively. Very cool. You'll love to see. The developers are also bringing back the neon lights to all races in Forza Horizon 5 for the month of February, which is pretty cool again. Like I said at the start of this video, though, the big news is not what's in this update. It's what isn't in this update and what the developers said about the future of Forza Horizon 5 and what it means for FH6. So let's just say it. Forza Horizon 5 Update 43 is the final new festival playlist for FH5. Starting next Thursday, the developers are actually introducing one more new feature. You know how in Forza Horizon 5, when you open up the festival playlist, you can spam right bumper and go over to the coming soon section? The coming soon section is gone, and it's going to be replaced with a festival playlist vote where every single month, you and I can go in and vote for what we would like to see the next playlist be in Forza Horizon 5 from a preset group of options from old festival playlists. The developers did say they're not going to be copy-pasting the old festival playlists exactly. There's going to be some changes here and there. For example, they said they're going to throw in some new opportunities to get backstage passes, for example, so we can start to accumulate more of those and spend them in the backstage. They also said if we vote for an old festival playlist, one before an expansion was out, the developers are actually going to add new challenges into the map so they can fill out the festival playlist. And they also said they're going to throw in new event lab maps for us to go and try out every single month to the festival playlist, regardless of what we vote for, which is always cool because it's a great way to find new maps to try. So that's what's going on with Forza Horizon 5, if you ask me. Pretty cool. But I think we do need to address the elephant in the room, and that's what's going on with the next Horizon project. Now, here's the thing. An announcement like this just leaves us with more questions than answers, which is kind of standard for these sorts of announcements. The developers really did throw a wrench into the situation. Think back to Forza Horizon 4 when that game was making the transition to FH5. The new updates for FH4 went all the way up until, like, what was it, July or August? And then FH5 dropped in like September or October, around then, whatever it was. The developers have never wrapped up an ongoing game as early as this, especially without making the announcement of the next game coming in its place beforehand. I've still got to assume that Forza Horizon 6 is going to stick to the regular release schedule that we've had for every other Forza game ever, releasing in like a September, an October, or November later this year. But to just chuck another wrench into the mix, you've also got to remember Microsoft's big heavy hitter coming out this year is the new Fable game, which is also being made by Playground Games. They're completely separate development teams, so the release and like the development of one game doesn't impact the other. But I can guarantee you from like a release date perspective, Microsoft will stagger those releases. They do not want to compete with themselves with like Game Pass subscribers. They want people to jump into both at the end of the day. So there will be some gap, and one will take one slot and one will take another for sure. What those slots are, though, I do not know. And this news just kind of leaves us with more questions than answers. Now, I'm going to be honest, this statement actually gets a little bit more confusing because right at the end of it, they still say there's still more coming to Forza. Hello. They say there's still more coming to Forza Horizon 5 in the near future. While we're getting that ready, we hope veteran players will enjoy this trip down memory lane and that new players will enjoy the unique looks and features that the Horizon Festival has worn for the past 3 years. So it's really strange because on one hand, the developers are telling us it's the end of the Forza Horizon Festival playlist as we know it. There aren't going to be any more big major updates coming to the game. But at the same time, they're also telling us there's more coming to Forza Horizon 5 in the near future, but they don't go into any details as to what that means. It's just really confusing because it's like the developers say there's more stuff coming, but they don't say what it is, while at the same time saying the festival playlist is over. So it's like, are they going to be introducing new cars into the game? Maybe, but probably not. Are they going to add a new DLC into the game? maybe, but why would players go and buy that when clearly the developer's focus is shifted to a new game? So why would you invest money into this one right now? It's weird. It's just really weird because it feels like the developers have walked out the door and are focusing on the new project, but at the same time, they've left the door open behind them if for some reason somebody wants to do a licensing thing with FH5 or throw something in last minute to generate some hype for a product or a car that's coming out. It's weird. I guess right now, all we can do is get on board for the Forza Horizon hype train. Let me know what features you want to see most, what new cars you want to see most, and when you think it's gonna drop. Thank you so much for watching. That is the FH5 Update 43, the final update.